G'day, friends. Welcome to the Buddez Podcast. You're in for a real treat today. Morgan Wilson is the founder of Creditte. It's a accounting and financial advisory firm specializing in helping small and medium-sized businesses just like yours. He's not just an accountant. He understands the whole small business environment and ecosystem. And he gives us a really interesting conversation on some of the issues on financial matters for small businesses and some things for us to be thinking about and to be aware of. I hope you find this valuable. Let's say good day to Morgan. So g'day, Morgan. Welcome to the Buddez Podcast. I'm really interested in what made you found Creditte. What was on your mind when you started the company?
It was, firstly, thanks for having us. And then secondly, in terms of what started the journey was, it's a bit of a long story, this one, but I think it gives a lot of context as to what happens.
Sure.
Was I was working in public practice in another firm.
Okay.
And there was a client there that I was working with that I loved working with. And a few times they had tapped me on the shoulder to come and work with them as their CFO. And so third time lucky, they tapped me on the shoulder and they just called me at the right point, because as an accountant in public practice, Pete, you spend a lot of time talking the talk without having actually walked the walk.
Okay.
We can talk about you and your business, and we'll go, hey, Peter, great business. If we made these few tweaks over the next sort of 6 to 12 months, well, we built a really great business off the back of that. But you talk to clients and you then catch up with Peter 6-12 months later and you go, Peter, we had this chat sort of 6-12 months ago and nothing's changed. And the conversation would be, well, mate, Morgan, I had Johnny leave. Sally's sort of been, under a bit of pressure because Johnny left. So our team sort of is, here, there and everywhere. And, we've won this big client, but then we lost another big client. So all the other things that go on with business.
Yeah.
And we were just looking at purely from a numbers perspective without going, where's the context around it? So for me to take that position was a really great way to put the whole business into context and how there. So it was a chance to walk the walk. So the chance to be responsible for, fortnightly $1 million pays and everything else, and hitting the button, because it's very different talking to someone about their $1 million payroll to actually being the person responsible to hit the go on the $1 million payrolls. It's something there that gave them a lot of context to business in general. And then what happened off the back of that, mate, was just the realization of how valuable that sort of being able to talk the talk and having walked the walk as well. So out of that, Creditte was born.
Okay.
Was just that sort of need to not just accounting and tax compliance, but that sort of, how Creditte started was originally CFO, gun for hire, jump in, jump out, do that style of work, and then leave that client alone. Now, what inevitably happened was you jump in and, if you get poor data in, I won't swear, but if you get poor data in, you get poor data out. So you had poor reporting. So you'd spend a lot of time fixing the foundational piece of business, which is bookkeeping and record keeping. It's not particularly sexy or exciting, but it needs to happen. Because it flows into so many other things of decision making. So I found that at the time I was spending so much time bookkeeping, and clients were paying me a CFO rate to just fix up bookkeeping errors and just standard, things that just needed a bit of polishing. Because small business owners don't know what they don't know. They're incredibly great plumbers, sparkies, real estate agents, there's dentists, you name it.
Yeah.
But no one has their own business to become their own bookkeeper or accountant.
Yeah. They've got a technical skill, as you said, that they're the tradie, or they've invented a great new fragrance, or they've got a particular design of clothing, or whatever it might be, and it's that passion, that love for that particular business. But very few of them in that way of thinking would be financially literate as well.
Exactly.
And they probably don't realize how important it is to, as you mentioned, to do things, but also to what they're not doing in addition to what they're doing. And some of that, what we call boring basic stuff, it's so crucial, because when you come to making decisions about tax or about employees or about a whole rate or exporting offshore, all those decisions, they're going to be partly informed by good financial knowledge of what's going on.
Exactly. And it was just sort of, it became very apparent that clients don't know what they don't know. So off the back of that, so we had the CFO piece and we started a bookkeeping piece, bookkeeping and payroll piece to it. And then naturally, what we sort of falls off the back of that is we were talking to clients about accounting and tax compliance anyway. I was a registered tax agent anyway, so it just naturally fit in off the back of that. And so what happened is we had the CFO and advisory work, we had the accounting, tax compliance in the middle, and then the foundation of what all our clients build upon is that bookkeeping and payroll. So we can have that great data all the way through to actually make some quality decisions around hiring, around growing, around what does all that look like. And that's sort of how Creditte was born. Long story, but that's how the business started.
It's interesting, isn't it? Some of the best businesses, they start and then the clients tell you what the business is going to be, because often it's very hard to predict. You're sitting in a room somewhere, have a cup of coffee, and you're thinking, I'm going to start this business. And you think, well, I'm not 100% sure what they really need. So what I'm going to do is, it's a bit like sailing. I'm going to start in a certain direction, get on the wind, and then I'm going to maybe let the clients take me where they need me to be.
And that's a really great way to put it, mate, is the fact, like, it's amazing. It's sort of how our business has evolved and how our clients' businesses evolve over time.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting. Like, if someone had asked me when we started our business 4.5, almost 5 years ago now, I would have sworn black and blue in the face that we were never going to touch a self-managed super fund. And here we are with a whole bunch of handful, we got a decent chunk of self-managed super funds and everything else. And what was originally a CFO gun for hire type business and just me is now a team of 11 looking after bookkeeping, accounting, tax compliance, and all our CFO and advisory work for about 300 clients. So just amazing at how your journey makes its way through.
It does. In my other life, when I'm not working in Buddez, I've spent 25 years as a leadership coach.
Wow.
And over that 25 years, it's changed a lot. Like what the clients want, particularly you have disruptions like COVID, for example. So you move from being completely face to face to completely virtual, and that's a huge shift. You think, well, I need to learn how to do this, and then it ends up being a benefit because then you're not ever going to travel as much. Before COVID, wherever my client was, I had to go. That was the expectation. Now they're quite comfortable being coached like virtually, which makes my life actually a lot easier once you learn how to do it. I'm sure you're the same too. You wouldn't be visiting all your clients in person, would you? You can do it virtually.
And look, it's very indicative of, like, our business started during COVID, so we had no choice but to be online because we couldn't go any. Our team's relatively,
of course,
our team's relatively dispersed as well. Like, we've got team members in Tassie, we've got a couple of team members in Victoria, Melbourne, Ballarat. It was just indicative of a business that had no choice but to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yes. And a lot of people now are more comfortable working from home too. So if you've got team members in different states, they're probably working virtually from home too. That gives them better work-life balance.
It's
a lot of our members in Buddez, they're running businesses from home or from their garage. They're not always in like huge factories, and some are, but most are just on that cutting edge between it being a smaller business and being a between the S and the ME. It's that not super tiny, but not super large. Because I guess if I'm a really big business, I'm going to have my own in-house marketing people, my own in-house finance people. I'm not going to need to outsource anything. But the smaller businesses, a lot of it's like a network of outsourced people, right?
Yeah.
And you
that's
guys
where we fit in. Absolutely. Yeah.
You fit into that jigsaw. You're like that very important part. I'm curious, like, you've been doing this now for how long? 5 years?
5 years, yeah.
5 years. So I'm just curious about like what you've seen that have been. I don't mention any names, but what you've seen that have been like really great practices, like a business that you thought, shit, how do I help these guys? Or some of the biggest like issues you've seen. Like if I'm a small business owner listening to this, I think, what should I be mindful of? Because you said, they don't know what they don't know. What are some of the things I might not know that I need to know that might snooker me?
Exactly.
What would they be?
Mate, that's how we start any new client meeting is just asking the question, where do you want to go and what do you want to do?
Okay.
Because no one really asks a business owner that.
Okay.
Because a lot of it's trapped up here and they don't actually speak it out loud. And we've got like the old sort of business strategy piece is that a good pilot only needs to know two things.
Yeah.
The airport that they're in. And the airport that they need to be at. How they get there is sort of, up to them and everything else. But if you don't know those two things, well, you're not going to get to where you want to be. So for us, it's about asking that client where they want to go and where do they want to be in business. And because again, people just naturally fall into business. Some people start business. Some people, are very good at what they do. And like you said, mate, it's sort of, people are very great at what they do, and that's just a natural progression for them to be in business.
Yeah.
But that end goal of where do they want to be, isn't a question they ask themselves. Like, why have you started the business? And oftentimes you'll see people working for their business rather than their business working for them.
It's interesting. I think that they could be two different questions. Like why I'm in business and where I want to be. Because it was curious. I was talking to one of our members yesterday, and she and her son run a fragrance business.
Yeah,
right?
wow.
Like very high end, very ethically sourced fragrance business. And the reason she started the business was to stay close to her son. I mean, she obviously loved fragrances, but it was mainly not mainly, but a really core part of this was she loved her son so much. He just done a business degree. She thought that she might lose him, like not see him.
Yep.
And she started a business with him so
How's
she
that?
could hang out with him. I thought that was the why. But then you think plus she loved fragrances and she's an awesome marketer and all those great things as well. But then you think the other question is, so where is this going?
Yeah.
And that's a question she probably couldn't answer as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because that then informs your decisions, doesn't it?
Yeah. And it's something that's not necessarily, like, it's not static and set in stone either. Just because you answer the question once doesn't mean that it's got to be that way forever. I think it's something that, it's worthwhile refreshing year and just sort of going, all right, well, is this where I want to be? If not, why not? Is this where I want to go? If not, why not? What do I want to tweak and change? Life happens.
It's the same for your business, right? You were saying it changed depending upon where the clients were. I mean, I remember about 12 years ago, my business partner and I, we wanted to do a lot more work in Asia, right? We were working with big clients here. They had offices in Asia, and we both wanted to travel and work in Asia. So, and we got our financial advisor involved, and she introduced us to this whole idea of tax offsets that were being offered then for companies exporting into Asia. And we were exporting IP into Asia. We would not have even thought about that, would have been in our heads. And so we actually were paying, the more we worked in Asia, the less tax we paid because we were exporting IP. It's a very legit. It's not like a dodgy.
Yeah.
We had no idea. And then we started thinking, great, we want to do it. And she was telling us how we could do it and make it really financially attractive for the business.
You wouldn't have known that unless you had that conversation.
Exactly, yeah.
If you had gone and done it and then spoke to her later, she could have gone, oh, Peter and business partner, you could have done X, Y, Z, and you could have been over here instead.
Exactly. So I think that point's a great one. Like you have a plan and you share it. And you had the plan, you share it with them, and then you say, what are you thinking? What do we need to do? What are we going to set up? And she was awesome. I mean, she was, in that sense, she was very, very business minded. And she wasn't, because I think a lot of small businesses think like financial advisors and accountants are a bit like the police.
Yeah.
Right. They're going to stop you and they're going to keep you in this very narrow lane. And right. They're not like entrepreneurial. It sounds like you are more that entrepreneur mindset.
Well, you've got to be, we're in business ourselves at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like we have an accounting business, it's a bookkeeping business, it's a CFO and advisory business, and we want our business to grow. And the best way for our business to grow is to see our clients grow. Like we want to see them do well. We've got a vested interest in making sure that our clients are doing well, because if our clients are doing well, we're doing well. So it's just encouraging that piece of having our clients pick up the phone and say, mate, before you make a decision, Pete, just give us a call. Here's the sounding board. Like even if it's something as small as like the old classic is buying a car, just give us a call before you do anything, mate. Because sometimes it's a small couple of tweaks and it can completely change the outcome. Or it's, is it expanding into another state? Is it taking on that next staff member? Is it, potentially, especially selling your business? That's certainly a big conversation topic at the moment with the silver tsunami that's oncoming business.
Yeah.
But on the same breath, buying a business as well. Because for a lot of people, it's rarer than buying and selling a house. Most people do that within their lifetime. But buying and selling a business, that's typically a one-time thing in someone's lifetime.
It could be. But I was talking to another member just recently too, and he's a drafts person. He runs a drafting business, but he was getting a bit bored with drafting, so he bought an online clothing business. Right?
Good on him.
He bought the business, was all on Shopify. He bought the stock, and he just finds it fun. He called it fun because he was getting so bored with drafting, right?
I love those stories. It's amazing what people can make a dollar out of and what they
Yeah,
find
yeah.
and everything.
He was working out how to do it, and he thought it was fun, and he liked it, and it was making money, and you could see the spark in his eye when he was talking about it. And it's completely different. It's like a women's fitness accessory clothing business,
Yeah.
which is completely different
Yeah.
than drafting, right? It's nothing like it. Not in
No.
the same universe. Yeah.
I love stories like that. I love
Yeah,
like
yeah.
we've got clients with similar backgrounds and stories and things. We've got clients that get into bone broth and all of a sudden it's this big business.
Yes, yes.
Clients
Yeah.
that are selling, we only met with one last week that they're starting up, and it's doing incredibly well. Vending machines that have flowers, like bouquets of flowers in them.
Oh, right.
Also fascinating at what hours of the night people buy flowers as well, funnily enough, on those vending machines. Again, something there that is just, there's a niche and there's a market there for it, obviously, and just what
Yeah,
people are
yeah.
able to make a dollar out of. Very entrepreneurial people.
Yeah, that is a niche. I love these niches. I was talking to a pair of sisters that run I won't say where it is. I'll probably give it away too much, but they run a business in a very, what would I call it? Rich area on the Australian East Coast. And what they do is they sell bespoke candles. And what they do is they do a chakra reading of the person first. They do your chakras, and then they design a candle particular to your chakras. And
Yeah.
if you take the candle away, I'm thinking, now that is niche, right? That's
Niche of niche. Yeah.
and their clients are primarily like wealthy women, and they're paying a lot of money for these candles.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, great,
Good on you, mate.
that's what I call a niche,
Yeah.
a chakra candle.
Yeah.
Okay,
Cool.
and then you burn the candle, and apparently the way the candle burns helps your particular chakras, which is perfect. So you've told one big thing, which is like know where you're going, have a vision, even if it's going to change, like that sailing analogy. What's something else that you'd suggest? You'd say, hey, guys, this is something you should be thinking about.
I think cash flow is becoming a real sort of common discussion with clients, whether
Yeah,
cash flow is good, bad, or indifferent. The
yeah,
conversation around cash flow is
yeah.
really important. It's especially getting
Okay.
to this time of year as well,
Yeah,
especially for any
yeah,
retailers going into the Christmas. Well, it's amazing how we've picked up Black Friday here in Australia, but they'll pick up Black
yeah,
sales and that'll push on into Christmas, and then there'll be this lull in January because they're almost like a bit of a hangover in that retail
yeah,
space. But even also in the professional services space as well, there's going to be this big push into Christmas.
yeah, yeah,
January is going to the old silly season starts at Melbourne Cup Day and finishes after Australia Day.
yeah, yeah.
Sort of that cash flow and how you cash flow that is
Yes,
becoming
yes, yeah,
really important. But even just outside of this season as well, in the last few months, a big conversation has been around, especially in the trades and
okay,
construction space as well.
okay.
Just again, with sort of a record amount of insolvencies going around in that space and everything
Mm,
else,
mm. Yeah,
having
yeah,
a solid safety net or plan around your cash, especially what happens if you get paid late from a certain supplier? What are we going to do?
y-
Do we
yeah,
need better finance and just plans around that and just having that open discussion around cash flow,
yeah,
your accountant, with your business partner, just so it's front and center because it is the thing
yes,
that
yes.
cash is reality.
It is cash. It's a
Yeah.
it's a cash economy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to some extent, it's a debt economy, but
Yeah.
you've got to service the debt with cash. You
Yeah.
can't just continuously build debt. I love that idea too. The financial advisor I was talking about earlier, what she did with my partner Clive and I was she talked about our business as being a 10-month business, because when you think about coaching, like leadership, not much happens in December and January. So
Yeah.
she got us on this 10 by 10 rule, which is like we work for 10 months of the year. And her idea was that she wanted us to sell 10 days of the month for 10 months of the year. That gave us they gave us 100, and she sort of worked that out for us. So I think that made it nice and simple for us because we weren't particularly financially wise.
Look, nor should you be in that respect either, mate.
Yeah, yeah,
You're
yeah,
great
yeah,
leadership coaches, and it's
yeah,
something
yeah,
that, having someone there is just a sounding board to have a bit of a chat
yeah, yeah,
about and
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
understanding and just I think it's really important, well, both as accountants and advisors, but
yeah,
also, just as a business owner, as you engage someone, just tell them warts and all about your business, the ups, downs,
Yeah,
and all the
yeah.
so they're not understanding. Sometimes I just need to listen, and that's all. Yeah,
Well, it's otherwise a bit like going to the doctor and he says, "What's wrong?" and I'm not going to tell you. Uh, oh, I can't help. I can't help you then, right?
yeah, and that is like that sort of prescriptive piece of it, especially as an advisor, is you just ask a few questions to kind of
Yeah, yeah,
lead a client in, so you can
yeah,
start to
yeah,
drill into what's going on.
yeah, yeah.
And then you can prescribe. You can't just walk on in and go, "Hey, Pete, we got to fix up your cash flow if your cash flow doesn't need fixing."
Yeah, you don't know. It's a bit. I mean, it sounds like you're a bit like an archaeologist. I mean, you find something, you think, "Oh, this looks like this particular fossil. I can predict what this is." I didn't see the whole thing. And I guess as you get more experience, you can start predicting things more. You go, "Oh,
Yeah.
this looks like a potential cash flow problem or a potential problem about not having a proper vision." Or so we've got cash flow, we've got our vision, where we're going. What else do you think would be important? You haven't mentioned the tax word yet.
Yes. Well, mate, that's the third one. That's coming up on the list is cash flow and tax.
Yeah,
Is sort of like tax is sort of the subset of cash flow, because a classic example is a business grows phenomenally and they've got a great amount of cash in the bank, and they want to
yeah,
typically reuse that capital, that cash that they've got in the bank, to keep growing
yeah, yeah, yeah.
without necessarily realizing that not all that cash in the bank is theirs, because some of
How
that
is
is
it?
super, some of that is the tax man, some of that is your
Yeah,
wages, some of that is your creditors. Just because you've got $100,000, $500,000, $1 million in the bank doesn't mean that's all Peter's.
okay, okay, yeah, yeah.
And
It's
that important piece of, because it can,
it is. And when you're starting out, you think, "Wow, this is great. I've got
yeah,
all this money," but it's not your money.
it's not your money. And
Yeah,
that's what we talk to clients about is what's yours is yours. And
yeah,
but what necessarily is in the business bank account isn't necessarily yours.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
someone
yeah,
else's. It could be a myriad of people's.
yeah,
Having that tax plan for our clients is really big, because tax is all encompassing when we talk to clients about this, is that it's
yeah, yeah.
GST, it's pay as you go withholding, as much as superannuation isn't a tax, but it's still an obligation that you've got to pay as an employer. And especially
Mm, mm,
that those rates have risen over the last few years, it's now 12%. So just providing for that, what that looks like, and especially over the next, well, as we move into payday super as well,
mm.
which will be, if you pay someone on the 1st of October, it's expected that their super goes along with it, inevitably. So cash flow planning around that, because a lot of small business owners will pay their super quarterly, which they're obliged to do. But
Mm,
inevitably, what will come in is payday super. So when you pay Peter's payroll on that day, super's got to go along with it. So
mm, mm.
cash flow planning and tax planning, that conversation around that is going to be more important than ever, because that
Yes,
then,
yes.
that cash flow funds a lot of things, and tax will be, it's inevitable. Death and taxes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It's inevitable, and it's also, as you mentioned, quite complex because there's PAYG, there's corporate, there's a lot of different taxes that you're paying for different reasons,
Yeah.
and looking at the right ways of managing the business so that you're paying the appropriate amount, not paying too much
Yeah. The
tax.
old Kerry Packer saying, they're certainly not, the government's certainly not making a case to be donating any extra. So you don't want to be
Yeah, 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 yeah,
paying a
yeah,
cent more
yes,
than you have to.
yeah,
But it
yeah.
is a relatively complex area, because we do have one of the more complex tax systems in the world.
And we got one of the most, it was interesting. I talked about coaching earlier. I was coaching a group of leaders at a big general insurance company, and one of them was head of tax at this insurance company. And she said she loved the Income Tax Assessment Act, right? She loved it. Right. And she showed me a photo of it, and it was like a printed
Yeah.
version was about this high. And it's constantly being amended,
Yeah.
as amended, as amended, as amended, as amended. So there's no way a small business owner could keep on top of that. That's just the income tax. Then you've got the company tax, and
Well,
that's
funnily enough, Pete, just on that one, we've actually got two income tax acts. We've got the 1936 and the 1997.
right.
So we
There's
actually
two of them.
we wanted to modernize it, and then, well, almost 30 years ago, we went, cool, let's modernize it, let's do it. And
Yeah,
then we kind of got partway through and went, it's all a bit too much. We'll just leave it
too
we'll have the
complicated.
two
Yeah,
as
yeah.
is. Yeah.
But try to understand. Yeah, that would be above, like beyond most of us. You haven't mentioned structure yet. Like I'm curious about as businesses grow, and you think about how it's structured and what roles I may be playing in my business.
Yes.
Am I a shareholder? Am I an employee? Am I a director? Am I all of the above? What are your thoughts in that space?
Mate, it's you're reading my mind at this point because that is the
Am
fourth.
I-
Yeah, that's the fourth. Like, as someone goes into business, what we
yeah,
like to
yeah,
talk to our clients about is you get the structure done once, you get it done
yeah,
right,
yeah,
and that's the
yes,
beginning. Because
yeah,
it's
yeah,
amazing at how we'll inherit clients from other practitioners, and we'll pick up new business and who are already
yeah,
in
yeah.
business, and we review their structure. And
Okay.
there are sometimes a few tweaks that needed to have been made, or sometimes the question has just never been asked. Why are you in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
structure, Peter? What's happening there? Talk to us about the reasoning behind it. And that's not to say that anything is wrong, but like we were
yeah,
saying before, your business has evolved over
yeah,
time,
yeah.
and what changed and what's happened, and everything else. So it's something there that there's really important pieces. People look at, again, just to kind of around that conversation, is when people look at structures, they're looking purely from a tax perspective. And I
Mm.
understand that people want to engage their accountant for a perspective on tax, but it's also asset protection as well, because getting that structure right can oftentimes be a really cheap insurance policy.
Yeah.
Because if
Okay.
you have that structure right, it means that
Yeah.
potentially no creditors can pursue you. It means that potentially, depending on how things have happened, or it means that if something goes drastically wrong, it might mean that your home is not up for grabs or whatever else. So
Yes. Yeah.
getting that
Yeah. Yeah.
asset protection piece is
Yeah.
just as important, if not more important, than the actual income tax piece of it and how you structure that
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
it's, and just giving clients the understanding of, like, the best structure that a client can be in from our perspective is one that they understand.
Yes. Yes.
If they can't explain that to someone at a barbecue as to how they run their business, then we haven't done our job properly to explain their structure, or we've overcomplicated it massively. Because we can
Yes.
get
Yes.
clients the best structure in the world and do all this and do all that. But as a business owner, it's a critical piece that if you don't understand your structure, my accountant handles it all, they sort it all out, it's no worries.
Yeah.
That financial literacy piece, that structuring part, is part of that conversation.
Literacy. And I mean, and I'm sure this isn't the case with you, but I've heard of examples where accountants have taken advantage of gullible clients.
You don't know what you don't know. Yeah.
You don't know what you don't know, and you've got to make sure you trust because you're basically giving them your business. But in my case, I've still got the same lady, Alice. She basically runs all the financials for me, and she runs the bank account. She does everything, right? And I trust her implicitly, but I think you need that sort of relationship, don't you? Because I think a lot of small business owners in particular, they don't want to give that away because it feels like, wow, I'm trusted with my bank account. That's a big call,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, and
Yeah,
it is. There is a lot of trust and value the clients put in us as part of it, because
yeah, yeah.
we sometimes know more about clients and their habits than they do themselves. And sometimes clients,
Yes.
like, if you have a really great relationship with a client, sometimes you'll be the first to know about a few things that are going on in their lives, because sometimes things just boil down to numbers. And what does
Yeah,
that
yeah,
look
yeah.
like? Because everyone needs money to survive, and everyone
Yeah,
needs money to
yes.
thrive, and everything else. So sometimes there's a conversation around, what happens if this happens, or what happens if that happens,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah,
what
yeah,
what do
yeah,
the numbers
yeah,
look like then, and everything. So there's
yeah.
a lot of trust in that relationship.
There is, and maybe there's if they're like planning families, or there's like you think, well, I'm planning to have a family in the next say few years, maybe.
Yeah,
And my wife and I both work in the business, so what's the best? What do we need to do now to prepare ourselves for that? And changing roles and changing structures and all those normal things, the normal life things.
the other piece as well, in terms of normal life things, is death happens. Not
Yes, yes,
invincible. We're not going to live forever. So that estate planning piece around,
yeah,
when
yeah,
we look
yeah,
at structuring, so we look at
yes,
tax, we look at asset protection, and we look at estate
mm,
planning as
yeah,
well.
yeah, estate
So
plan, yeah,
three real critical pieces to a structure, because if you pass away,
yeah.
who's going to know what, Pete might have a trust over here and a trust over there and a
Yeah,
company
yeah, yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
What does all that mean?
Yeah, and if I pass away, what does that mean? Does that mean the beneficiaries can sell the house and my wife's on the street? Or I mean, there's all that like tenants in
Yeah.
common and all that great stuff about all those rules around those things. But there's also the other. Death's one of the D words. The other D word is divorce, right?
Yes.
Just because I'm sure all of our members love their partners and wives dearly and husbands dearly. However, sometimes divorce can happen. And in fact, about half of marriages end in divorce, depending on what stat you're reading. So you're thinking, well, if I'm in business with my partner, my husband, my wife, maybe I've got to plan around that too, to think, okay, if we do divorce, what happens? Like,
Yeah.
what is that going to trigger?
Yep.
That's another part of the.
Oh, absolutely. Like a lot of that, mate, and even just to kind of follow on from that point as well, you think about how many, like if that's a marriage, think about a business partnership as well.
Yeah.
You and I are going into business together, which then means that our wives are also really extensions of ourselves. So they're also really in business together too. So what happens if I die? What happens if Peter dies? What happens if either one of us get divorced? What happens if I wake up one morning and go, Peter, I'm tapping out of this, mate. I'm sick of our leadership coaching business. I'm done. If I talk about leadership coaching again, I'll go. So what happens if that happens? One of those critical pieces as well when you're starting a business, especially with a partner or partners, is a shareholders agreement as well.
The shareholders agreement, because it may change. I mean, I look back over my life, and some people I thought would always be in my life, aren't in my life anymore. Other people I thought would never be in my life, are in my life right now. I mean, things do change, right? Yeah. They're not because you hate anybody, because the bad thing is just change. It's just like your goals change, your life change, your families change. So it's good to be thinking about those things, because it's very different than being an employee. Like if you're going to work for a big employer, like you're working for a big bank or whatever, it's that different, a lot simpler.
Yeah.
And much less complicated, and probably a little bit easier too. The sort of guys we work with in Buddies, they're very, very passionate, very dedicated, very committed, small and medium-sized business owners in a whole range of the industries, everything from stainless steel cookware to things that people wear on their arms to stop sunburns, to the candles. There's a whole range of things. And one of the things I love about talking to these guys is talking about where that idea came from.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like being in a critical. I was thinking, gee, I'm just curious. I mean, where did that idea come from? I mean, what's going on there? Like, we had one guy that was, he's into art hanging systems. He works for very wealthy people that buy art, and they're going to hang it in these very expensive houses.
Of course.
And I never thought about art hanging as being a thing.
No.
But apparently you've got to hang in a particular way and particular style. And she's made a whole business out of art hanging. I thought, good on him.
There's a market for just about anything. You've just got to find it.
That's right. So what have we had so far? We've had like vision or plans. We've had tax. We've had structure,
cash flow, and even just to sort of talking on structure again, just to kind of piece that out again, mate, is just what a lot of people think around that estate planning piece when it comes to structure. Not that we do it, but again, we want to get involved and embedded in our clients' discussions, is that just because, Peter, you've done a will doesn't necessarily mean that all your business structures are taken care of.
Yes, that's right.
Because your will is for you individually. And you can leave all sorts of wishes and things beyond that, but you've got to have that estate planning piece for your business structures and what that looks like, and that sort of break glass in case of emergency type situation. Because it might not necessarily be death. It might be some sort of incapacity that you might have or whatever.
Yeah.
And who needs to step in? And especially like, say, for our business, where I'm a registered tax agent, we need a registered tax agent as an individual to sign off on all the tax returns that we sign for a client. So if something happens to me, who needs to step in and become the registered tax agent from there? So having that, even just a very short sort of, the credit handbook of, what happens and how we do things and everything else, so that someone could at least step in and know where your accounts are, know what, social media pieces if you look after it yourself, and know who's responsible for what. Yeah. I know it's a lot of work for an already busy small business owner, but a lot of them will have, I dare say the Buddies Network will have families and husbands and wives and people that rely on them.
Yeah, exactly.
You come to help them. So just that piece as well is really critical.
It is.
And it's something that's not often spoken about as well. We had a very unfortunate situation for a client where she was in an accident. She was the only one that had access to her company bank accounts, employees. She was, unfortunately passed away, and her team payroll was the next day, and no one could get access to bank accounts. It then meant that her team could not pay their mortgage, pay their rent, buy groceries, do anything else like that. And it's just one of those unfortunate things that's not to say that, if someone had a plan in place, they'd be able to do it that next day. But at least sometime that week, the team could have got paid, whereas it took 2 weeks to get access to
Yeah,
bank
yeah.
accounts and things like that. So just that critical piece of estate planning is really important in your structure as well.
Yes.
Having that conversation is another important piece. Again, because a lot of it just runs in a small business owner's head.
It
Getting
does.
it
It
out on
does.
paper.
It does. And we alluded to this earlier, but you're also like a lot of our members too are thinking either they are exporting or they're planning on exporting. And that becomes another issue as well, because often if you're exporting into a country, it's the law of the country you're exporting to that those products or services are applicable for. Other times it's Australia. It can get quite
Yeah.
complex,
Oh, absolutely.
particularly tax-wise. Do you need, if you're working in the US, as we did, do you need to pay US tax or Australian tax or both? Or how does that, like knowing that in advance is really useful because it might change where you export to,
Yeah.
because maybe some markets are there's more like import incentives there for the sort of whatever it is that you're selling. Maybe that country wants more of whatever it is that you're selling.
That's a
Yeah,
really good point.
a big example is like, say, we wouldn't be working with these guys, but a big example would be, say, China and India wanting a lot of Australian coal, right? So that they give incentives to companies that can provide high quality coal on time. So it's the quality standard, and that's very profitable for those big mining companies. Similarly, for small businesses, it could be very profitable if you get the right advice.
Exactly.
I'm thinking about going to New Zealand, but maybe I'm better off exporting into Manila or Philippines or Malaysia or wherever it is. But it's good to think about that in advance.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Because that then influences structure as well.
It does. It's struck here.
We do a
Yeah.
fair bit in the e-commerce space as well.
Okay.
And especially around food manufacturing as well, food products and things there. So if you think selling a shirt or a bit of jewelry or a fragrance into another country is difficult, try importing or exporting food. That's,
Yeah.
and the rigmarole you've got to go through, and rightly so, because
Yeah.
you can consume food and everything else. For some clients, and one in particular that I'm thinking of, they have a very different model depending on the countries or regions that they're doing business with. So for this client in particular, it made a lot of sense for them to wholesale into Japan rather than
Wow.
just ship their product to Japan, because they
Okay.
could find someone on the ground to deal
Yeah.
with all the regulations and rules and certifications and things there. Same thing for shipping to the Middle East, Dubai
Yeah.
and the Emirates. For them, again, it made more sense for them to wholesale into that region
Okay.
than it
Okay.
for them to actually sell. So they actually, with their online product, they don't ship to those countries because they have a wholesale agreement there. But for them, especially in North America, Canada, and the US, they
Yeah.
just ship directly to the client because they can.
Yeah.
But
Yes.
again, in
Yes.
terms of structure, in the US, they did an LLC before they could, for their food labeling and things like that. It's really important to you don't have to have everything set in place from day one.
But you've got to think about it. Because when you, I mean, Australia's a tiny market. It's probably 2% of the world GDP. So it's the other 98% out there, and most of that 98% in Asia, right? So you got to think, if I want to expand, the easiest way would be to expand into a bigger market, but because there's the same sort of people buying the same sorts of things all over the world.
Yep.
Basically, that's how I look at this. I think, well, where's the best market for me? Rather than, I like Japan, right? I like it, but maybe not. You can go there on holiday if you like going there, but is it a good business decision to go there? You know what I mean? They're different sorts of decisions.
Exactly. And it's something like, even at the moment, I'm thinking of an e-commerce business that's just starting as a client of ours, and they're thinking almost 100 steps ahead. So almost too far in advance. And you kind of got to bring it back and go, hey, look, you're pre-revenue. You haven't even sold your first product yet. Let's get some runs on the board first.
Talk about optimism.
Yeah.
Here we go. Expand into all these. I haven't sold anything yet, but we're going to expand.
But when we're there, and I love the enthusiasm that they bring to it, and they're talking about getting there. But sometimes you also need to bring it back to reality, because again, you want someone to reality check your vision. Because if tomorrow, Pete, I said to you, we're going to have $100 million business and I'm sitting at one, well, what's going to happen overnight that gets us another 99 million? So bringing that back to reality is really important.
Yeah, and a lot of that too is about having the right combination of partners. Like I'm talking business partners I know one of the reasons I really love working with Sophie, who you've connected with,
Yeah.
is because she's so detailed and she loves running Google spreadsheets and she loves planning everything out in advance. And
Good on her.
I'm more the person. Oh, look, here's an idea. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's make some content. Let's talk to him. Let's reach out to them. And I'm there, right?
Yeah.
Not thinking it through completely, not writing anything down. I don't write spreadsheets, right? So together we're great because I'm rushing
Yeah.
over to Japan, and she said, "Hold it, let's."
Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah.
If you've got the right relationship with each other, like personal, that really helps.
Absolutely. And same thing within our business as well. You need, everyone needs a Sophie. Everyone needs different minds, because if our business was full of Morgans, or if your business was full of Peters,
Yeah.
that's not sustainable. You can't have everyone running in different directions, doing all sorts of different things, then nothing gets done. But I think
And Clive was my business partner. Clive, I talked about when we were selling into Asia. We got on really well, but he was also very different than me. He was also like very detail orientated, very specific, and very measured. Opposite. So it was good. We're still great mates.
Yeah.
We give each other a lot of grief, like jokingly about how we are. You know what I mean? Because we know we need each other, right?
Exactly. And it takes a lot of different people to build a business. It's, again, to come back to that structure piece for small businesses, especially when you're going into a business partnership, is sometimes a great way to lose a great mate is to go into business together.
Yes. Or a wife, or a marriage.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
a great way to wreck a marriage is because it's also different energy, right? I mean, obviously you're friendly without being friends. That's how I like to think about it. Because my mates or my wife, I wouldn't go into business with my wife. I mean, I love her to death, but I wouldn't go in business with her because a different sort of energy, right?
Oh, and it's
Different. I want her to have the wife energy with me, not the business partner energy.
Yeah.
It's different. Yeah,
it works for different people, and it's amazing at how I'm always amazed at how some people can compartmentalize both. Like husband and wife when they get home, but as soon as they enter the office door, business.
I'm jealous of them. I can't do
Me
that.
too. I can't do it either. Yeah.
I can't. I've got very simple lanes I like to be in. This
You
lane,
and I are very similar, Peter.
I don't like all these like merging things and like I'm this hat and that hat. No, that's not how it works. This has been an awesome conversation. I really appreciate your advice. But we're going to put your contact details in the show notes if anybody wants to reach out and talk to you about getting some great, not just accounting advice, but business advice. It's a whole combination of things. I think you'd be a great guy to reach out to. And I just wanted to thank you for being a guest on the Buddez podcast today.
My pleasure, mate. Thanks for having us.
Well, wasn't that a great conversation? I loved the way Morgan put it. You don't know what you don't know. And I'd say, I know for me personally, and maybe for many of you too, maybe you don't know what you don't know with regards to financial management and business management with regards to financial matters. And someone like Morgan could be very valuable to you. He certainly would be to me. We've got his contact details in the show notes of the podcast. If you're interested in learning more about social media marketing and how you can grow your business using social media marketing, definitely join the Buddez community. Look for the Buddez community on Facebook or check out buddez.com. That's buddez.com. And you can find lots of great resources there. Until we see you next time on the Buddez podcast, this is Peter Anthony saying bye for now.